Hey everyone, today I'm going to be walking you through the new work action testing feature. This new feature allows you to quickly and easily test your work actions without having to run an entire workflow. This should save you a lot of time while building and debugging workflows and make it just simpler to use the platform in general. So let's start off with a simple example. We're going to use this calculate math expression work action, and then we're going to click the test button. The test button opens up this new testing panel, and we have three sections. We've got data library items, projected inputs, and test results. So first thing we're going to do is do a simple expression. Let's do 1 plus 1, and then we're going to run test. We can click run test, or we can hit Control Enter, and that will be the hotkey to run the test. As it's running, you'll see it said submit in the top right, and now it's completed. It's giving you the outcome of the work action. This will match with the outcome that you see in the debug console, as well as the 2 outcomes or 3 outcomes that you see on each and every work action. And then it'll give you the output that you expect to see here. If I made a mistake, you would also be able to see the error messages that get generated. And you'd see impossible to complete with the error message that you get here. If we want to, let's go back to a working expression. We can also test our fields to capture. Let's make this a number. And run the test that way. Now we have this new output available. That is our fields to capture. You can click this copy button, and you can copy and paste the results wherever you want, nice and easily, in case you need to take them and stick them into a different work action or use them downstream or copy them off platform. Let's go into data library items. So if I add a couple of data library items here, number 1 plus number 2, you'll see that our projected inputs now shows the data library items, and we have in the data library item section number 1 and number 2. So let's add 1 and 1 here, and you'll see that those have changed down here as well as up here. When I run this new test, it will submit what you see in the projected input section to the test, so you can easily change things. What you'll also notice, if I confirm this, and then open this back up, the numbers here in your data library items will persist between tests and between saves. So you only have to take the time to enter them once, and you should be able to reuse them over and over again. Okay. And let's go into a more complicated test. So if we use this API call work action here, and we test it, I've got a test endpoint as well as a test method. This is really helpful for being able to show off things like response body. If you need to take these outputs and put them somewhere, you can click the nice copy button. Let's take a look at how divides work on the platform. So I've got this search company profile in Apollo work action, and I'm going to be pulling out 3 results. You can tell this work action divides because it's got this splitting arrow icon as part of it, and the delivery method includes divide. So if we do this test, we'll see what the UI looks like when your work action divides. So you can see we've got this new section here where we have 1 of X jobs, and we're able to click next and previous and see those results split. So this will help you know that your output is going to divide, and each subsequent work action is going to run this many times. You've got this nice search bar, so if we want to see just the company name, or let's say company ID, then we can see that, and this will persist between us changing the page. Currently, only single work actions are supported. So if I run a test on this work action, I'm going to see an error message that says, hey, this is a composite, and therefore it's not supported. This might come in a future update, but right now there's nothing to be done. There's no way to test a work action that has this error. So if you see it, just proceed as you normally would. So going into some interesting use cases on where we're going to see a lot of value out of this new work action testing environment. API calls is obviously a really big one. There's a lot of margin for error there, and knowing that something works at the beginning is going to offer a lot of value. A couple of other situations here. The evaluate condition work action has some natural language text in it. And so if you don't write that perfectly the first time, it's easy to make a typo and have it not work for you. But in this case, let's say I have these values in here. I'm just checking that value 1 is an exact match for value 2. It's not. 1, 2, 3 is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. So it says no. But let's say I was switching this and I wanted to try out equals. Oh, that didn't work. I got my ITC and my valid message equal to. So there's a lot of ways to quickly experiment with the building of your work actions and be very sure that things are going to work. It's also nice and easy to put in some examples of information that you might receive from upstream and therefore use that in these work actions to test them out properly. AI is another great one for this. You're never really sure what AI is going to respond with until you try it out. And so it's really important to try a bunch of different use cases, test a few different times, make sure that you've really got a solid prompt. In this case, I've got the prompt, what is this file? And then I'm submitting a astronaut JPEG so we can test with that really easily. And we've got a generated text output here. I might also want to do something a little bit more complicated and say, output your responses JSON in, I don't know, example. Give a similar picture as well as an output of the summary. So as you can see here, we're working through our examples. We need to add these to our fields to capture. And then we'll scroll down here to return responses JSON. And we can just make sure that everything is working exactly the way that we want it to before moving on. If I've got typos, if my fields to capture don't match my JSON, there's a lot of room for error here. And so it's nice to be sure, okay, it's returning the results. My data library items that I'm creating, example and summary, are getting values, and everything is working really nicely. Something else to note, if you have a test open and you make changes and you run the test, none of the changes that you make are saved. This allows you to quickly experiment with different inputs, but not actually impact your production workflow in any way, shape, or form. In order to change the work action, you still need to click the confirm button. If you just simply close your test and move on, you're not getting any of those changes. So make sure you're still clicking confirm if you need to click confirm. The last example that I have for you today is web process automation. So web process automation, we do a lot of that on the platform. I've got an example here of spinning up a browser session, so I'm going to do that now. And then from spinning up a browser session, we're going to have this session ID, and the session ID we're going to be able to use as an input to downstream work action that will let us really simply test work actions, test iterations, make sure everything's working, see how it's impacting the browser. And so I'll go through that now. Okay, my open browser session has completed, so I do have a Chrome instance now running. I can copy this session ID and I can use it in a downstream work action now. So if I close this test, I've got this session viewer open for our staging environment. It's not quite as pretty as the one in our production environment, And you can see I've got a website open. What I'm going to do is just click this shopping cart using the next work action, and we'll be able to see it run live here. So if I go here, fill out this click on an element using Vision RPA, test this, I can either enter the value of the session ID here, which is one way to do it, or if I close this and I make this a data library item, I can get this to persist across tests. This is also a nicer way if you're actually building a workflow, because this is going to stay across your tests, and this is actually how you're going to set up the work action in real time. So I want to click based on the image, so I'm going to use a reference image. I've already got a shopping cart file added, and I'm just going to test that now. So we should be able to see the test take place, it log into the session, and click that shopping cart in the top right corner. Okay, we can see that the cart has been successfully clicked. It's opening up this menu. I can even test out, okay, what happens if I close this, easily go back, quickly change the image that I'm using to this close image that I've got, and then run my test again. The nice thing about this, I can test out a whole bunch of different images, make sure everything's working, test out a whole bunch of different prompts, and really get that quick feedback that you need to build something quickly and see it live without having to run the entire workflow over and over again. Okay, so that's closed. I know that both of my images work, which is great. So that's my demo for the new work action testing feature. I hope this feature helps you build your workflows faster and with more confidence. Looking forward to hearing all of your feedback on it.